a gamer guy.
I feel as though I found myself stuck on a never-ending merry-go-round of frustration and emptiness called Super Donkey Kong 99. In a previous review, I covered an excellent conversion of Donkey Kong Country for the Famicom known as Donkey Kong Country 4. Now, while I definitely could have gone deeper into just what made that game so much better than your normal pirate fare, my message was clear enough, I think. It was at the very least a competent game. Now, as a counterpoint of sorts, I present Super Donkey Kong 99 for the Sega Genesis and Mega Drive. Generally, it's not very enjoyable to talk about bad games, so I've had this footage sitting around on my hard drive for quite a while just taking up space, and now seemed as good a time as any to do something with it. The first thing that must be said of Super Donkey Kong 99 is that it's actually rather appealing to look at in many cases. The Donkey Kong Country series has some of the best looking visuals of the 16-bit era in my opinion, and while here they have been considerably reduced in detail and color, some of that original appeal finds its way through enough to where it has a sense of continuity with its legitimate brethren. It's also worth noting that the graphics for the levels, enemies, and other objects are cobbled together from all three of the original games, making this a rather cool hybridized trip visually. But what's good visuals without good music? Well, I suppose the answer to that would be Super Donkey Kong 99. This game does not have good music, and I find it pretty impossible to defend. The songs seem familiar to me, but I can't put my finger on the origin, probably because they've been horribly mangled by the Mega Drive sound chip. That being said, perhaps it's not the compositions themselves that are bad, but rather the tedium of listening to them. I think it's like how bonus level themes from the real Donkey Kong Country games, or the classic Starman theme from Mario Bros. Are great for short bursts, but as an entire level's background music, they would most likely be a player's least favorite tunes. Not to mention they are constantly stopping and restarting, but I'll get to that in a second. The controls for this game are somewhere between the actual Donkey Kong Country and the previously reviewed Super Mario 4 The Space Odyssey. That is to say, they aren't good, but they could be worse. If anything, the best way to describe them is probably slow. In fact, everything in this game is slow, from the animations to enemy attacks. Now, the original Donkey Kong Country isn't what I'd describe as a particularly fast platformer, but it was fluid. Super Donkey Kong 99 is not fluid. Every movement is slow, jarring, and awkward, basically epitomizing everything that could go wrong with a platformer. This might be forgiven though. I've probably been kinder to worse controls in the past, but in those cases there was always some room for error. That's just not the case here. Everything is a one-hit death. Mix that with some difficult jumps and things become truly unpleasant. By the fourth level, I find myself wondering if the annoyance was worth the review footage, as I was killed more times than I care to remember by projectile-throwing monkeys. Full disclosure here, I have not beaten this game and I have no desire to. It's not fun, and the novelty of a mismatch of Donkey Kong Country games amused me for all of a minute. In a way, this is kind of unfortunate, because I would love to make a personal testament of just how absolutely insulting this game's ending is, which is purportedly a static silent screen of Donkey Kong and Diddy Kong staring at one another set in front of an empty, soulless expanse of darkness. How appropriate. I wish I could like this game. Pirate games that draw from all corners of their source material are usually pretty cool, but this one is frankly too frustrating and generic. That's another aspect which needs to be addressed as well. Though I've heard these levels are from the actual games, a claim which I'm actually pretty skeptical of, somehow in Super Donkey Kong 99, they feel incredibly uninspired and bland. The distinctive locales which make the official games, and even some of the other derivative works like Donkey Kong Country 4 even better, have been drained of their life and now would be lucky to pass off as husks of their former selves. This gives the game a special place over some of my previously reviewed material, as not even some control touch-ups or other mechanical upgrades would do it any good. The game, a bit surprisingly, actually features boss fights, and they would probably be a pretty decent reprieve if they weren't so long. People have often cited this game as having one of the hardest final boss fights of all time. I only found this fact out during some research after playing the game, and all I can say is that I'm glad I abandoned this ship before I got that far. In the end, I'm reminded of a famous adage. Quitters never win. But at least they don't have to play this anymore. Thanks for watching.